Welcome to Together Unprocessed, where five friends from across the world share real conversations about food, healing, and life. Let's get started.
Okay, hi everyone, and welcome to our first full episode of Together Unprocessed. It's great to see everyone here with us today, and we have another episode which talks a little bit about who we all are, which you can go back and watch. But today we are talking about the reason we all know each other, the reason we've come together as a group and become friends, which is our nutrition and our diet choice, the carnivore diet. We thought it'd be good to just put all of our information together into one video, so anyone who's thinking about starting the diet, was already starting, and is hoping to get some tips from people who've been doing it, I don't know, for a collective number of years between us all, then hopefully this will be useful to people. So how long have we all been doing the carnivore diet? Let's start with that. I've been doing it for 3 years, just about. Go, Kim.
Yeah, I've 2.5 for sure. I maybe pushing 3. I started in the challenge, and I would have to say the first 8 months I was learning. So to be full carnivore, maybe 2 years.
Yeah, Ash.
I have been carnivore for 2.5 years. Again, yeah, I was pretty strict in the first probably 19 months. The last few months have been a bit more trickier for me.
Yeah, and we can come on to how things work in the longer term as well. Cindy, how about you?
So a little bit over a year and a half ago, I started. I was very, very on point for like 3 months, and things got a bit stressful for me. So I was like kind of going off the wagon here and there. But the last year and a half, pretty consistent, but definitely have those difficult times, which is why this group has been so helpful, because it's kept me back on it. So a little over a year and a half.
Yep. Thanks, Cindy. How about you, Hugo?
Yeah, similar to Cindy, 1 year and 7 months. So yeah.
Okay, so I think between us we're over a decade's worth of experience, and we've all had different experiences as well. And we've all affected each other's experience, so hopefully that will come to bear in what we talk about. So just to start off with, what is the carnivore diet? The way I would describe it is you are focused on eating animal meats, and that includes actually kind of animals from the ground. It was also fish and seafood. And you can also have animal products like eggs, and you can have things like dairy, although you should be a little bit careful about how much you have. The exception is kind of butter and ghee, which tend to be more on the acceptable side than the rest of dairy. And there's lots of things you don't eat, pretty much everything else. And that's how I'd sum it up. So fatty meat as much as you can is also a key point. And then in terms of drinking, water and maybe bone broth. So it's pretty simple. Anyone got anything to add to that?
Well, except for those of us who will not give up their coffee. Coffee, isn't really carnivore, I guess, because it comes from a plant, right? But yeah, there's other things about coffee. I mean, addiction is kind of an issue here, so.
Exactly. So we don't have to do all of it all of the time either. People are moving at different paces at different points in their journey as well. And some may never be 100% carnivore, and that's totally fine as well.
Yeah, I agree with Cindy. Well, actually, you guys know, because we've all been in this together. I gave up caffeine, and that was one of the best things I've ever done. Seriously. And the pain and the aches and everything that was in my body was like unbelievable. But then I went back to decaf, and I do drink decaf. I don't drink a lot of it, but I drink more than I probably should. And one thing I find with my decaf, it's kind of like that candy or something that I'm craving when I'm carnivore. It just tends to take away that noise in my head. So, I mean, if I'm 2 o'clock in the afternoon and I'm being lazy, I'm watching a movie, whatever, I will have a decaf.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm the same. And I think we talked before about it's more of just an option for me socially. If I want to go out and just have a coffee with someone, it just means that I don't have to bring bone broth, which I was carting around with me for a long time. And yeah, have to think about all of that.
No.
How about you,
And
Anne?
I'm the opposite. I've gave up coffee and tea and everything, and I only drink bone broth and water. So I'm the one that carries the bone broth in the bag. So when we go to coffee shops, I order a hot water and I rip out my. I've got a little container, or I just grab the bottle out the fridge. I use the a brand, and I just take it with me. So I tend to stick to. That's probably the one thing that I have stuck to is I only drink my hydrogen water, my bone broth, and I've recently started including milk kefir, which I make myself. So those are probably the three things that I do have. Other than that, I've managed to stay off the coffee or tea. It's just because I don't do moderation. Like once I start on that 1 cup, I'll end up going to 7 or 8 a day. So I just don't even do it because I know what will happen.
Yeah, exactly. We're all on our own individual coffee journeys. How about you, Hugo?
No, I dropped coffee when I started Carnivore. That was it was actually the hardest thing to give up, but it wasn't hard in general. It was just relative to carbs. It was harder to give up because I was used to drinking specialty coffee and making that and perfecting that art. And yeah, but it's not a big deal. I just needed to drop it because I didn't tolerate it well. I did some keto stints before and it didn't work out well. I was getting a lot of issues when I was using my fat stores instead of carbs, and that's why I dropped it. I couldn't focus properly and just overexcitation and just and fatigue at the same time, so it didn't work out for me. But I am very strict. I do the Lion diet, which is ruminant meat, salt and water. I am selective in the water I drink. I don't like tap water in general. I guess it varies by region. It's not always bad, but in my city it is. I just drink spring water and occasionally mineral water, which is really really good if you have some electrolyte imbalances. And I rarely eat fish or things like that, and they have to be wild caught. Farmed I will not eat. So yeah, that's me.
Yeah, that's you. What are we all eating these days? It's really hard when people ask me that because things change quite a lot. I don't have much of a restriction on what I eat. I just eat what I want to eat. And most of the time, what I want to eat is beef. And that hasn't always been the case. I've had an aversion to beef, but right now, that's all I want to eat. I look at other meats and think, unless it's lamb, I'm not really overly kind of concerned about them or interested in them. But I do like to have seafood every now and again, especially prawns and kind of cod livers as well. But that's generally what I eat. Like I very rarely, maybe once a week, have fish, but the rest of the time it's beef. So, but that's not the case for everyone. So what are we all doing? What are you doing, Kim?
Yeah, I mean, I was very similar to you, as Olivia, as we all know. And, I wouldn't call it an aversion. I just didn't care for beef anymore. And one of the things I think it was is the way I was cooking it was just like, okay, I don't really care for it. Like I would eat a whole friggin' brisket in like 2-3 days, easy. And I went off brisket. And then I started doing chuck roast, and I would do it in crock pot, and it was like, to die for. Then I went off chuck roast, but I still really enjoyed the broth, like huge. It was there's so much depth to it and so much meatiness. So today, I still eat beef. I like my picanha, and I'll have a hamburger or I do a lot of hamburger, or I'll have a ribeye here and there, but I do eat a lot of pork and I do eat a lot of chicken, and I do source it from pasture raised. I do most of the time. So, and eggs. I lay off the cheese because that's how Kim gained weight, and we will be talking about that at some point. But yeah, that's what I'm eating.
Yeah. Thanks, Kim. I mean, it's weird how we go through different phases on different foods. Like that's definitely been a feature maybe that we can all have in common. Like I am really not into eggs right now. I do not want to see it. And we get the best pasture, lovely eggs. And I just can't even, I haven't had an egg in maybe 3 months now. I don't know why. I guess I just don't need it. So I'm not interested. What about you, Ash?
Yeah, I'm probably with the beef at the moment, but I'm struggling with slow cook stuff. So it's been more back to steaks again, because I went through a stage where I was going into the slow cooking stuff, but I've just been playing around with it because I figured out I think it's the one crock pot that I use. But we're lucky because we've got a cow that deep freeze for. It's actually been from it's local. Well, it's from our neighbours, so it's I know exactly where it is and what it's done. I'll probably so beef, lamb, occasionally chicken and a bit of bacon, but I've totally gone off pork. Every time I eat pork, I just feel sick. So I'm off pork totally. I tend to stick with the fattier stuff. Yeah, occasionally prawns, like you've said. But yeah, we've got our own chickens, so they're starting to lay again. So I'm back on the eggs. So that's
Actually, I miss the idea of eggs. I just don't want any at the moment. It's so weird.
Yeah. No, so I'm enjoying the eggs again. So I'm having lots of scrambled eggs, and that sort of stuff. Yeah, or an omelette as well.
Yeah.
You know, I'm just going to jump in here quickly. I think one of the things that I've been thinking a lot, and I've been reading a lot, and everybody knows I love to read. I think it's our body transitioning, saying, okay, you don't need all this right now. So how about we try this? Like, you don't need the eggs, but you need the beef. And I think it's just how our body has healed and adapted. You know, we all tend to come back to what we started with. And I think it's just our body saying, well, you don't need eggs right now. You know, eat more beef or eat more lamb or whatever it may be. That's my thoughts on it. That's my theory.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Just
the thing is-
yesterday, yesterday I just had fish. You know, I cooked a whole wild caught trout, and I wanted the beef more, the minced beef. I just got, you know, it's from an older cow. It's like 4 or 5 years, and it's so fatty. It's over 70-30, and you know I had an appetite for that instead of the fish, which was amazing too. But just goes to show. Yeah.
It's almost like we have more choice than we actually need. Like sometimes when you start the carnivore diet, you think, oh, we can eat all those things. And then you just over time don't, because you're listening to your body, you're in tune with your body, and you just do what you want that day. And that's how it just turns out.
Exactly.
So, how about you, Cindy?
So it's interesting. I'm not someone who's ever been drawn to meat. Like, I just don't like the taste. And so that was the hardest thing for me when I first started. I knew a lot of people were talking about ribeyes, so I started doing that. And, you know, I'd find that I could sometimes actually like it or even love it. But the funny thing was, I had always been more of a chicken eater. And I started doing chicken too. You know, when I first started doing this, I was having chicken. And then I want to say 2 or 3 weeks into it, I didn't like chicken anymore. It was the weirdest thing. Like, and then I would try it again like a week later, and I'm like, ugh, like now I can't, now I don't want it at all. And I do enjoy beef. The steaks, I have to be in the right mood, but I love ground beef. And so and I just don't have a lot of time right now. So I'll have ground beef. I do use seasonings, and I'll make like a taco seasoning, and then I'll cut up some hard-boiled eggs. So I use eggs or scrambled eggs with it, and now I can eat cheese a little bit with it. And here's the crazy thing: before carnivore, I couldn't tolerate dairy at all. Like, I had gotten off of dairy for like, I don't know, 8 years or something. And so about a month into it, I thought, well, maybe I could use just a little bit of cheese for a condiment. You know, I could put some cheese on this because I always have it around because my kids. And I realized, hey, my body was okay with that. Let's do a little more, you know. And I never did too much, but I did try with some cream, and, you know, whip up some cream, and it's like kind of like ice cream. And all of that was not bothering me, which was a first in so long. So mostly beef and eggs. Throw some butter on there, a little bit of cheese, and anything that's easy. I do use the crock pot. I'll take these boneless beef ribs, throw them in the crock pot frozen in the morning when I leave for work, come back, you know, 10 hours later, and they're perfect. So that's pretty much it. So now I do like beef.
And none of us, I can ask the question just so we know, none of us are having honey, I'm assuming.
No.
No, I mean,
No honey here.
that was, you know, I'll speak up a little bit on that. And because I actually started, I went keto and I started carnivore, and I actually did the Paul Saladino, and it was like add honey and stuff like that, and it did me no favors. Actually, it made me worse. And there were times when I'd get out of bed, I couldn't even move my arms because my joints were so inflamed. And they say that it doesn't do that. It does. It absolutely does. And then I stumbled onto Dr. Chafee, and the rest is history. Like, here I am. Like, am I 100% carnivore every single day, 365 days during the year? No. But am I 90 or 95% carnivore? Absolutely. And it's changed my life.
Mm. Yeah. Yeah, I think we can all agree with that one. So how do we feel about, like, okay, we all sound maybe a little bit perfect at the moment, but I know we're not. How does it work when we already talked about coffee, and we have that because it's a bit of a crutch, I guess, and a substitute for other things. How do we stay on track? Do we feel like we need to stay on track? And if we ever go off track, what do we eat? So I can start. I do sometimes, like on occasions when there are mainly kind of family social occasions, I do like to have a dessert of some sort, and the only thing I would have would be something that my kids have made. They make a lot of keto desserts, so I would have something like that. And if I ever had a need for something sweet, I would have something keto, which basically means a sweetener. And I can be choosy with sweeteners, and I don't like being on sweeteners, but I would rather do that than have the honey or any sugar. So that's just where I found that I can cope, and then I don't think about it for months after that. So it doesn't re-trigger any kind of addictions for me. Honey would. But I know a lot of people that think, well, if you're going to have something sweet, you might as well have honey because that's natural, and sweeteners are not in the same way. And so, yeah, what do we all think about that?
I wish I could be like you, Olivia, where it doesn't bother you for months.
But I don't know. I just feel like if I need something, that sensation of something sweet, I can have a sweetener, and then I don't need it again. So I don't want it. It's not my mainstay of my diet, but it's my fallback.
Yeah. Well, I think things will be different for me when I'm not under as much stress as I am right now. I mean, I do a really good job managing it, I think, but it's joy, right? Some of these foods are pleasure, and I don't have a lot of, I mean, that sounds really bad to say, but I have a lot of joy in my life right now, just because I'm working so hard. But I see a light at the end of that tunnel, so maybe that's what I can look forward to. But for me, my kids will have stuff around. If my daughter she's not anywhere near carnivore, so she might make cinnamon rolls. That's what threw me off when I first started. I was good for like 4 months, and then, oh my gosh. And so, you have I had to have some of that, right? And of course I felt like horrible afterwards for 2 days, but it was still worth it to enjoy that with her, because she made that, and I mean, she does an amazing job with it. So that's kind of my big problem. And then the thing that really gets me, like the stress eating thing, when I'll come home from 10 hours of work stuff, if there's chips in the house, oh geez, I mean, especially corn chips, but it's that crunchy. So what I remember when I first started this, I was going through grief. Like, I was grieving not having something crunchy. So then I was able to find pork rinds, and that kind of helped a little bit. And then bacon is great. Like, I do eat a lot of bacon. I forgot to mention that earlier. I got to where for a while I was making and eating a pound of bacon a day, because at least I could make that crunchy, So it's interesting. It's not just flavor and taste. For me, it's sensation too. Like, creamy I could get because I could whip up, full cream, but that crunchy thing I was really missing. So yeah, I struggle with a lot of that sometimes, but I do agree with you that the sweeteners help a ton.
Yeah, they certainly have for me. And you're right, I do actually have pork rinds from time, and they're nice, and I don't really think about it. How about you, Ash?
Yeah, you have it in cream like cereal, like it grows me dead.
Yeah,
I don't know how you do it.
Well, that was a really bad time, because I came back we couldn't get pork rinds in the UK. I went to the States and got 50 bags of pork rinds. And the only thing I thought I needed to do with them, because I now finally have these pork rinds, is to dilute them with cream and have them like cereal. and I got totally addicted to that, and I was probably stuck on that for a few months until I finished 50 bags of pork rinds. So now I don't do that anymore. That is way too addictive. I wouldn't, because that's just like combining sweet and kind of that crunchy, carby sensation. That's just going back to all the worst types of ways of eating, and so I just stay away from that. So I have pork rinds as a kind of a quick snack, but nothing like
Well,
hidden.
I'll be honest, when I go off the rails, I freaking go off the rails. And it's just one of those things. It's an addiction, and I have come to terms with it. I deal with it. If I've come to the point now in my life that being carnivore, because I know I feel the best, and that's all there is to it, is that if I'm going to go off the rails, it's going to be something I want more than anything in the world to eat. So I'm at that point. But no, I go off the rails like big time, and it'd be a day, or it'd be a two days, and then I would yell at myself and say, Kim, remember how this feels. Like, I'd be so angry, like, don't forget, you can't move your arm, you can't do this. Like, literally, I'd be sitting on the edge of my bed getting ready to go to bed because I'd have to take freaking Tylenol, and I'd sit there like, don't forget how this feels, and I get so angry. It's helped. However, it is an addiction, and I'm starting to become very well aware of that. I mean, they have a study where they did with rats, and they gave the rats sugar, and they gave the rats cocaine, and they chose sugar every single time. And it's like, this isn't something that we're just throwing out there. It's fact. It's an addiction, and you need to treat it like an addiction. And that's where and also the community, you guys. So when I'd go off the rails, I'd say, oh, good Lord. And I'd be talking, and you guys say, be kind to yourself, Kim. Be kind to yourself. So I'm getting there.
Yeah, we've loved nursing you through those times. It's been fun.
I can totally relate with that, Kim. You know it. So.
Yep. It's a struggle. It's real. It's so real. And every one of us know. I think the only one that's the exception is our beautiful Hugo. And he keeps us on track every time.
And looks at us like we're crazy. Anyway,
Well, I was never a sweet person, so going carnivore sort of fitted in. Starting carnivore sort of fitted straight in because I was never into the sweets. I was always the savory, so cheese was always my downfall. But I was really, really strict for 18 months where I didn't have anything. I was like you, I could just say no to everything. And it wasn't until Christmas last year that I thought, well, I'm just going to test and see how I react to these things. So I allowed a little bit of alcohol, which I hadn't allowed in 18 months, and I allowed a sweet treat. And I felt so sick for 3 days. I think, 4 days, but I think that's been the hardest thing. It was just like opening up that loop for me. Like Kim was saying, that addiction, it was like opening up. It was like almost giving myself permission. So trying to go back after those 3 days was really, really hard. And it's sort of the thing that I've been craving now, which it opened up to, is ice cream. So, for months I'd be binging and like would go, whereas before we'd go as a family out, I would say, no, thanks, I don't want any ice cream. It was like, oh, well, yeah, okay, I'll have an ice cream. And it was just that sort of sense. But then I just realized, I think it was the cream. So now it was then back to, I gave up the ice cream, but it was then allowing the dairy back in. So I don't need the sweeteners, but because just having some cream or some milk just did it for me because it was sweet enough. That's to curb that. However, dairy and cheese, which is my weakness, it has made me put on weight. It does hurt me because it hurts my joints. I figured out that early on in the days when I started with Dr. Chafee, cheese, as much as I loved it, was the cause of a lot of my inflammation. Because the minute I gave up cheese and then started to reintroduce it, my knuckles hurt, my joints hurt, everything just flared up. So it's just been trying to get rid of that again. That's where I say I've struggled this year, is getting off those sort of things. But yeah, it was just allowing that in. With regards to sweeteners, like I said, I've never liked them, but my family aren't quite there yet. So I've just recently found out about allulose. I used to use all this, the stevias and the monk fruits and all those things, but I'm trying now to switch them over to the allulose because Ben Bickman was talking about that and Kim's mentioned it. So just to try and help my kids get off a little bit more off the different things. So that's sort of where I'm tending to go towards, for them, the sweetener side.
Yeah, I think this reinforces the whole N equals 1 thing, you know, because everybody responds differently, you know, and having I guess it's the determination and motivation to figure that out is key. And we change. Like, that's what I've noticed with myself. And, you know, the fact that I can have some dairy, it made me feel so bad before that I don't really have that much of it. There were a couple of times where I started feeling myself going that way, but then like having too much cheese and too much of the cream. And then I decided, well, maybe I should do the allulose thing too. So also, you know, I'd seen it and heard about it, and then Kim was talking about it. I'm like, well, and then Olivia was talking about a sweetener, so just do it to get through. And I've done that, the RX bars, the allulose in the coffee sometimes, and I found that seems to be better for me than doing more dairy. So, you know, but it's hard to figure this stuff out. And I think too, a lot of people don't even know how their body is feeling, you know? So what I do for my work is helping people get inside their body and feel what's going on, and to really be present, because a lot of people are just so in their head that they're not feeling their body. So you have to be able to feel your body to even know if what you're eating is affecting things, you know? So that's been a key thing for me.
Yeah. Yeah. And what about you, Hugo? Come on, shame us all.
Well, I guess I have an abnormal response if you compare. I don't get pulled by carbs at all. You know, I did enjoy these foods a lot. It's not like I don't have the enjoyment. It's just I have nothing pulling them, and I have repulsion. It depends. You know, when I've tried experimenting with honey or with homegrown apples, I feel repulsed eating them. You know, midway, and just my body rejecting it. But it's also my mind. I don't want those things. It's not. There's nothing in it for me. Like, there will be just, I will just suffer for a few days if I consume those things, and I just don't think the suffering is worth it.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wouldn't. I could walk into like a pastry shop. I have not. I'm kind of similar in that way. I have no draw to the food itself. If there was a bowl of pasta, if there was a big loaf of bread, and if there was 10 desserts, I have no. It's not like I'm standing there going, "Oh, I really wish I could have it." I'd have no interest in it. It might as well be a piece of cardboard. And I
Yeah.
think that's where you get to when you are not addicted to that stuff anymore. The only thing I would be
Yes.
tempted by would be a keto version of it as a treat, as something to just, have a bit of variety. But I'm not actually looking for the sugar. I'm looking for the variety and maybe some of the kind of, the social norm of it, rather than the actual physiological need for it. So it's definitely more of an emotional, mental thing.
I think
Definitely. Even if I ate carbs, I wouldn't get addicted. I know myself well enough. Like, there's just no pull. I didn't have it that much before, when I was just eating omnivore, all kinds of foods. I didn't have that pull anyway. It wasn't that strong. But now, no, because I know of a better way, and I'm not gonna go back to a worse path that would just end up in tragic outcomes. I don't want that for myself.
Yeah, one of the things that, like, being in all these different, like, listening to all these influencers and carnivores and stuff, and there's millions of us, there's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. And I think one of the things that we deal with the most is flavor fatigue. And when you get to flavor fatigue, you'll see that's why we choose to get a smoker, or we choose to get a barbecue, or we choose to do our meat a whole different way. And I think one of the draws to that is we get flavor fatigue, because when you're just making a steak and you're just putting salt on it, you're just drinking water. I mean, it's inevitable at times you're going to get flavor fatigue, and so we try and mix it up as well. And, you know, maybe I believe myself, sometimes that's where I get into trouble as well. And that's why I'll turn to my decaf, because I find it works. And it's the lesser of all the evils, so I'll take it, you know, and I know I'm not alone in this. But I think flavor fatigue plays a big role as well.
Mm. And how did people find it when they were transitioning? Because the last time I actually needed like I had to have it, something sweet, was when I was transitioning and moving from what I thought was a healthy diet to carnivore. And I needed to have some of those keto treats. And we had a bag of these kind of coconut clusters or something from Costco that we and this is when I was becoming keto actually, that we had bought, and I suddenly remembered that, and I had to like almost run to my garage and get it out and have some. Like it just got to that point in the day where I needed to have some kind of pick me up. I've never had that feeling again, but it just made me think it's hard to transition when you are really addicted to something and go cold turkey, because you might just, there's a good chance you just fall off completely and think the whole thing is too hard. So I'd be interested to know what everyone thinks about transitioning. Like I definitely did a graduated one. I definitely went keto, and then I kind of reduced things down from there. Other people like to go cold turkey straight to carnivore from being on a full SAD diet. And I commend people who do that, but it's a lot harder, and I do wonder if it's as successful. So what does everyone think? How did everyone do that transition?
I agree 100%. I went, so I was like eating everything, and then I I did vegetarian, then I tried vegan, and then I ended up getting huge into the biohacker realm, which I spent thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars on crap that wasn't helping me. I wouldn't say crap. Some of it's really good because I still use it today. And then I went keto, and then I went Paul Saladino, and then I went Chafee, and I found, believe it or not, I was more disciplined and on point at the beginning than I am 2.5 years later. I find that I have a little bit of waffling happening now. That's my transition.
Okay, thanks, Kim. Anyone else?
I'm an all-in type of person. So it's all or nothing for me. So I went cold turkey. I just went, right, I'm starting the 30 days. So I was going vegan. So I was doing a juicing fast. I got my video from Dr. Chafee on why plants are killing us. I did research for probably 2 months or thing, and then I decided that's it. I'm doing Dr. Chafee's challenge, 30-day challenge. And I went basically overnight. I had my last coffee on the 31st of March. On the 1st of April, that was it. I would just flip the switch, and I just stuck like that. And I was like that for 18 months. I think I did 4 or 5 months of Dr. Chafee's challenges, and then I joined the Patreon community. But I'm that type of person. I just switch, and I did really well. I did for 18 months. It was the longest thing I've ever done. 18 months, and I was strict between carnivore and lion, switching between 1 month, 1 month. It wasn't until I allowed, and that's where I found with me, I've either got to abstain. I can't do moderation, and by allowing that Christmas just to see what happened, it flipped the switch for me, because it was like almost like that whole flips, that whole mindset. So it wasn't a case that I needed it, and even to this day I don't need it, but it's that whole mindset shift that's gone from where I was in that mindset of being, I don't need this, there's no nutritional value in any of that, to it's okay. And but it's just on certain things. But I'm now getting back into that mindset of, no, I don't need it, and I've got to be that all or nothing. Whereas the rest of my family, they could never do what I do. They would need to do the transition. So it is going to be depending on the person, like you say. My family, my daughter, they all need to go through that whole keto side of giving up, But that's been me with whatever I do. It's always all or nothing.
Yeah. And you've also got like the whole nutrition industry backing you when you try to rationalize having a little bit of moderation, and it just doesn't work if you're not that person.
No,
So
I'm not like I said to you earlier. I can't have one coffee. It'll be 6 coffees. I can't have the one block of chocolate. It's the whole block, So I know that's what I am. I know I'm not that type of person, and that's what I've had to come to learn to do that. But also, in like Hugo was saying, once I felt how good it felt to not have these things that I thought that were normal, to now go back to experiencing having a backache or whatever, it's horrible. I don't want to feel that way. I don't. So it's like I need to get back to where you are. It's all or nothing.
Yeah. Yeah. What about you, Cindy?
So I've been following Dr. Sean Amara for a while, and then Sean Baker also. When I just first got into Instagram, and that was so interesting to me because it was so different from what I had heard. And then I had a patient who was from Australia, actually, who was talking about the carnivore diet. And I'm like, really? He's an athlete. And so he was talking about how, yeah, it was like the secret thing among athletes. It was like it was making them so much better. So, just curiosity. And this was probably around October, November, after several months. I ended up seeing Dr. Chafee's thing also about the challenge. I'm like, okay, I got to try this. And so it was after January 1st. I'm like, oh, then how you're going to like start something and then you just like go crazy. Kim, you can probably relate to this, right? I was having all kinds of stuff during the holidays and I just went cold turkey. I'm kind of like you, Ash. Like if I cannot do the moderation thing, it's got to be, all or nothing. And I don't recommend that for people at all because there's a lot of GI distress and just, the whole thing is very hard unless there's someone who's like that, who's, can relate to that type of mentality and personality. But yeah, I just kind of dove right in, but there were some downfalls about it. So I do wonder how it would have been different had it been keto for a while. So that's.
And I think the main thing is that everyone knows themselves, and if you don't, then you have to try things and figure it out. But if you think that you'll be much better off just going cold turkey, then try it that way. See how you do. The phasing that I did I wasn't ever trying to moderate carbs. Like I think that's where it's literally impossible to do it. I couldn't moderate, and I'm not even. I probably am an abstainer, but the way that I did it was I dropped all the junk first, just get all of that out the house. Didn't have anything like sugar or crappy in the house. That was just not even a temptation. Then I moved to carbs, and then I moved to plants much later. So it was not moderating in any sense. Like once something's gone, it's gone. But you can still phase your way in if you're starting at SAD without having to go all the way to carnivore and drop all of the junk, all of the carbs, all of the plants, all in one go. There is a way that you can phase yourself through that, which may be a bit easier for you or may not. And it really depends on who you are, as I said. So, there's support. So what about things to watch out for with the carnivore diet? Because I think one of the benefits of being in a community is everyone gets to hear about all these similar issues that everyone encounters and how they get through it, and what some of the pitfalls are and some of the kind of tips and tricks. What do you all think we should let people know about in case they don't know? I think the main one for me is just eat enough fat. That is the biggest thing that's going to get you through the cravings, going to get you through feeling better, going to get you through low energy. It really is I think the kind of the key to unlocking the whole thing. So that would be my tip. If in doubt, eat as much fat as your body wants you to.
Yeah, I'd say the top three in my mind of everything that of all these different things that I watch is number one, get enough fat. Number two, hydrate. Hydrate is so important. We find people saying that I'm getting cramps, I'm getting this, I'm getting that. And more often than not, they don't drink anywhere near what they should. And what you drink is very important too. And I'm sure we'll be covering that at some point. And salt, get some salt in you. Because salt is an electrolyte. And to me, those three things saved my life. I mean, I was going through different struggles and they made a huge difference. That's what I'm going to say.
Thanks, Kim. I remember feeling really lightheaded once and then not knowing about salt. Then I just had a glass and I Googled it, had a glass with some salt in it of water, and I just felt like I'd woken up. So really important point about keeping salt up. Any others?
I would say from my end, under eating, that is probably a big issue. People don't know what true satiety is, so they might under eat and not get not understand their feedback signals properly, or maybe their body is not giving them feedback properly. That can happen if you've been on a set diet for decades. You just body gets confused and doesn't work properly, so it can take a while to adjust. But I think Dr. Chafee's tip of eating until it stops tasting good is pretty good. It's pretty apt. So you don't stop when you feel satiation only. You stop when the meat stops tasting good. So I think that's quite a crucial tip, at least for me. I felt satiety before, but I still felt that meat tasted good. So that tip really works for me.
Yeah. I think a lot of people
Yeah.
do that, Hugo, but they also still don't eat enough. And so
Yeah.
there is that as well. And this is whole kind of idea of priming where you really have to try and make yourself eat. And sometimes for some people it's worth tracking. So you know whether you're at 3,000 or 1,000 calories and whether you need to adjust a little bit because our signaling is so off. So it's worth trying to get some of that in place if you really think you're not eating enough, or you may not want to eat anymore, but you know that you're not eating enough. So,
Yeah, and I'm just going to piggyback on that, Olivia, too. One of the things that I found too, not necessarily for myself, is that when you undereat, people, you hear of these people who lost 30, 40, 50 pounds, and you're like, holy shit, like, why am I not losing that 30, 40, 50 pounds? And you know what? One of the biggest things is they're undereating and not getting enough fat. And when they start upping it, then they start to stabilize more. And more and more people I'm finding is if you ask them what they eat, and you like somebody comes up and they say, hey, I'm struggling with this. We say, well, give us an idea of what you eat throughout the day. And when we see that, more often than not, they're not hydrating and they're not eating anywhere near what they should be.
yeah.
But I think fat's the big one, like Olivia was saying, because I thought I was eating enough fat, but I was eating nowhere near the amount of fat that I needed to eat. I switched from, I was eating butter and all and tallow and all that sort of stuff, but I wasn't eating enough fat, and that's the whole thing, because it's been drummed into us, fat's bad, and even when I speak to a lot of my friends, and even at the clinic and everything. You say that to them, oh yeah, I'm eating this. You're like, no, that's not enough fat. You got to actually, and that's, I think, was one of the hardest things for me to come to terms with being drummed into low fat, keto, with all these things, is actually just eating the fat, and that fat's not, that's not going to make you fat. That was one of the biggest hurdles in my mind to come across. And yeah, if you think you're eating enough fat, you're probably not.
I mean, the number of times.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Hugo.
In the beginning, I struggled with getting my fat ratio right too. I was just all over the place. If you eat too lean, you get constipation. If you eat too much fat, you can get diarrhea. My bile production wasn't up to speed either. So, and it takes a while for that to kick in, and it depends on your diet as well. Many people don't get enough choline, folate, and you need those for producing bile acid or moving it across the biliary tubes. So it might take a while. It might take a few months, half a year, for your bile production to get up to speed. And once that comes in, I think it will be much easier. So if it is hard in the beginning, it's normal. A lot of us experience that.
Yeah, give it time. Cindy?
Yeah, well, I'll second Kim on the three things that she mentioned about especially the salt. Like what I would do at the beginning, I would feel hungry and I would just take a pinch of salt and suck on that for a while, and that would really help me. But I'm going to be the odd person out on the eating enough. I have a hard time finding that out for myself because, maybe because I'm a really small frame, like I have crazy small bones. So, maybe that's hard for, part of it, but because I compare myself to someone else and like what they're eating. And then there's these guidelines. Oh, you should have, a pound of meat, every day or whatever it is. And I think I'm still trying to figure that out. And I think it has to do with exercise too, our body adapts to what it is that we're doing, and it can get super efficient on what we're eating. So, but I will say the fat is so important, and I agree with Hugo. Like, I'm always someone who's had trouble with constipation my whole life, and at the beginning when they were talking about that, because I was still a little bit freaked out about the whole fiber thing. That's a whole discussion in itself. So I thought, well, I'm going to make sure that I have enough fat, and then it helped having a bunch of bacon every day. And then I was, if the salt didn't do it when I wanted something, I would take my fork and get a little butter and have that. And, thank goodness I had enough fat. I even at the time had a butcher who would make me ground beef that was 50-50. That was amazing. But, and it tasted so good, especially since I didn't really like the taste of beef. That actually really helped me start liking beef more. So yeah, the verdict is still out for me and how much I should eat, to be honest. And, I'm saying that after the few-day fast here. I don't know if we want to bring that topic into it, but yeah, fat is definitely so important and so hard to explain to people why it is.
Yeah.
And like you, Cindy, like one of the things that you struggle with too is you're so damn busy. Like, I mean, for you to get a moment to yourself is very sacred. And one of the things that you find is making the food and getting it and preparing it. And that's one thing that we've talked a lot about is, if you're at work or whatever, you need something, run to McDonald's and just get a hamburger patty, or run to Five Guys and just get a hamburger patty, or get a couple of patties. Like, you don't, or make it and take it to your lunch and stuff. But that's where people struggle. And you don't have to go to a grocery store and buy, like boiled eggs. There are hacks and tricks. And, if you want to know, just put a comment down. We're here. We'll talk about it. We'll give you suggestions, because between the five of us, holy moly, there's a lot of knowledge here, a lot.
One thing I'll say to follow that, Kim, is, I mean, luckily for me, when I'm working, I don't need to eat at all. Like, pretty much fasting during a work day. But that has been such freedom to not feel like, I mean, when you get off of carbohydrates, you don't have this need to eat every 3-4 hours. It's this longevity of, being satiated for long periods of time. And that is like freedom to me. I love that.
Yeah. And fasting is not new to any of us here. We have the queen of fasting, Miss Olivia, that can talk a lot about it too. And fasting is very beneficial too. However, if you just straight line and you just eat beef, salt, and water, there's no real need to fast, because you still go into autophagy, according to Dr. Chafee. But I mean, there's all kinds of things, and not just carnivore. There's so much more, like our mental frame of reference in our head, and getting help from one another, and learning about meditation, and learning about all kinds of stuff. It all comes together, and it's so powerful.
Good tip on eating more is to do exercise, especially high intensity. If you do sprints, resistance training, which I do, I mean, personally, I have to eat 1.5 to 2 times more than I normally eat when I'm doing my workouts. Just my body demands it. It can be, it's usually 1.2 to 1.5 kilos of meat. It's a lot of meat, and it's fatty. But I wouldn't need to eat so much if I just didn't exercise. Probably 800 grams would be enough. 700.
Well, we have people that ran 5 marathons back to back, fasting. So there's definitely a good discussion coming on that one for sure. Yeah.
I think the other thing I'll say about fat is that it's important to, this is maybe one of the most common things I see, is people who they know they've got to eat a lot of fat, but then they get it from butter, and they get all their fat from butter. And I don't think that's a good way of actually going through the healing process that you need to with carnivore. Eating the fat that comes with the meat, for me, that is the solution to having fat, the best solution by far. I think butter can be, if I was given a lean steak and I had no other choice, then I'd have some butter with it. But I would much rather get fat trimmings from my butcher and use those to supplement if I do need more fat. Then I think your body can heal, and then your metabolism can actually heal with that. And a lot of people need to go through that process, which I don't think they go through as well if they're just relying on butter. So it's probably worth just pointing that out as well on fat.
I agree 100% because like I gained 12 pounds, and Olivia could probably remember this too, maybe Ashley as well. I used to post my pictures and my steak, you couldn't even see it because there's so much friggin' butter on there. And yeah, I don't agree with the butter for your fat at all.
Yeah.
I started that way. And I'd also have it in my tallow and all that sort of stuff. I mean, in my bone broth as well. But I've switched now to tallow, and I even have tallow in my bone broth. So yeah, I was going through a lot of butter, but yeah, it's switched now. And now if I do have butter, it's fermented.
Yeah, we need to talk about fermented butter another time. But I do
try it.
I ate loads of butter, and it was like ice cream. I don't know what it was. I must have needed butyrate or something in the butter. But now I look at butter and I go, nah, I wouldn't really be interested in butter. I don't need it. I've got fat in my steak. So it's again another one of those, your body's telling you what it needs and phasing.
French butter is amazing. It's if you get the artisanal butters, they're all fermented, you know. It's just
I haven't tried
best
that
butter
yet.
in the world. You know, I've tried different countries' butters, and French is by far the best. They're the next level.
Well, we get all French butter here, but you're saying fermented as well as French. Is that your recommendation?
Artisanal, yeah. Some of those, the butters I tried, they don't even export them. They were local producers making it the traditional way, hand churning, all of that. Yeah. Expensive, but really good.
No, French is the best butter
Trip
for sure. Okay.
to France. Let's go to the French. Let's put that on our to-do list. Go to France.
Some steak tartare and escargot.
Yep.
What else do people need to watch out? So we talked about fat, we talked about hydration, we talked about salt, talked about not eating enough. What else? Anything else? Too much dairy, I think we've covered. Stick to the meat. Anything else? Do we need any supplements?
No.
Depends how you're eating. It all comes down to what you're consuming. I mean, if you're not consuming, sorry, what, Olivia?
If you're eating carnivore, like mostly red meat, what would you say?
I would say chances are no, maybe folate, maybe, but no. I would say my answer is no. If you're doing it right, no.
Yeah.
Magnesium for me. I needed magnesium.
Yeah, I agree with Cindy. I still do magnesium, I do iodine, and I do my mineral salts. Those are my three that I do.
Personally, I found vitamin D for me was crucial. I had a deficiency when I was first starting. It was not because of carnivore. I believe it's my lifestyle. You know, just not getting enough sun last summer, and that's where it compounded, and I had very low levels, and I felt fatigued too. I would get afternoon fatigue, so I think vitamin D can be really good for if you have an actual deficiency. I got it measured, and then I started taking high dose. In 2-3 days, my afternoon fatigue was just erased. So.
And that's exactly what I was going to interject in, is that number one, have a baseline, because you can't monitor what you don't track. And one of the things that I wish I would have done in the beginning was to have all my blood work done initially and see where I am today. I know some stuff changed. And I think too that if we're so deficient in whatever, like I know I was deficient in iodine, magnesium, potassium, all kinds of stuff. And yes, I needed supplements because carnivore diet was not enough because I was so depleted. And I think the majority of people that do come to carnivore are in between those goalposts, is that they are so deficient that they do actually have to supplement just to get them up to where they need to be. That's my input.
Yeah, I mean, there could be an absorption issue. There could be all kind of things going on. I don't know. The only thing I've ever known I've been deficient in is folate. And that was, I had not had any organ meat at all on the carnivore diet. And so I started introducing organ meat. But I haven't had to take any actual supplements, and it's been fine since then. So we make a regular chicken liver pate in this house, and we all love that. So that's our natural way to deal with that. And
hashtag below if you want to know Olivia's pate recipe. It's very, very good.
Yeah, that's my famous pate recipe. Okay, any other tips for anyone starting out to to be careful with or watch out for?
Maybe don't expect instant results. Things take time. Personally, I'm still reaping benefits, and
Yep.
I've been
Yep.
1.5 years carnivore, so it depends.
Good point.
It's
Yeah, also
exactly
always-
what I was going to say.
Always
Same
give it
thing.
the
Watch your expectations.
Yeah, 90 days is, I think, the minimum. Not the minimum, but certainly be enough for you to know what the benefits are and be able to see that. And it doesn't mean that everything stops and changes. Nothing changes after 90 days, because it does, but it's a good line to stand. A
Start
load of
listening
people
to body.
say,
And it's 90 days is good to start listening to your body, because after the 90 days, in that 90-day period, you do start listening to your body.
yeah,
For me,
Yep.
it was a week.
Yep.
It was just a week. That was enough. Actually, 4 or 5 days. 4 or 5 days was enough for me.
It took longer for me. And, if you're Pisces like myself and you want everything to happen yesterday, be patient. Just be patient.
absolutely. The other thing I'd mention is people get cramps. So if you do, then just up your hydration, and you may need some salt as well, but try with just hydrating yourself well as much as you can to start with. And if you slip up, I would say it's no big deal. Just get back on the wagon. Most of us are not 100% all of the time anyway. This is not a religion. This is just trying to get better than you were before, and you can do that in all kinds of different patterns. It could be 5 step forward, 3 step back, or whatever it might be, but just get back on and move in the general direction of improving your diet. So
I just want to
Exactly. And
I just want to say one. Sorry, I was going to say one thing about
go ahead.
salt. I was going to say one thing about the salt. When we talk about salt, we're not talking about normal table salt. We're talking about mineral salts.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
because table salts are not good for you.
No. And to get back on the wagon, that applies to everything in your life and everything that you're experimenting with, because truly all we want is be a better version of ourselves in whatever realm it might be, whether it's carnivore, mental, physical, whatever it is. And if you fall off the wagon, that's okay. That's okay. Just get back on. And it's not just with carnivores, with everything in your life. I mean, if you want to do a cold plunge and you last 10 seconds, that's okay. Do it again. That's everything in life. I know, Cindy,
Right.
I haven't done mine yet this morning, but right after we're done, we're in. I'm sure
Oh,
Olivia
yeah,
is too.
okay, I think that's a load covered today, guys. We've gone through everything I think people would really need to know if they were going to start out on this way of eating. And we really hope people will come with us, not just for this episode, but for others too, because we're going to talk about some of the other aspects of carnivore in future episodes. But it's been great to just get the basics clear and laid out for people. So thanks everyone for your input, and hopefully people will get a lot of value out of it. So thanks everyone.
Thanks.
Have a great
Bye.
week.
Bye.
Yeah, thanks.